Mike Robbins here, coming live on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. I haven't come live in a while, but wanted to come and share a few thoughts. First of all, say hello. If you're joining live on any of the platforms, feel free to chime in the chat and the comments and just say hello, where you are, how you're doing. If you're watching the video of this after, you can drop in a question or a comment. I always look back at these and love to engage. So I turned 50 years old last week, which was kind of a big deal, on February 7th. And I wanted to share a few reflections on turning 50, but more specifically talk about the importance of us celebrating and appreciating ourselves. So yeah, it's a trip. I will say, on the other side of 50, I mean, I'm only a week and 8 days into it. It feels pretty good. I'm actually feeling pretty good about myself, about my life, about a lot of things. But a couple weeks ago, I was definitely feeling nervous, feeling kind of daunted and overwhelmed. You know, my friend Robert Holden likes to say birthdays with an O are definitely ones that we pause and stop. And and a couple things that I did that I think really helped was, I started talking about it with friends, with Michelle, with my therapists and different people, in the weeks and months leading up to it, just to kind of, you know, check in with myself. Like, how am I feeling? What does this mean to me? And I realized, a lot of stuff was coming up for me about life and aging and, just thinking about my parents and my sister, all of whom have passed away. And, my mentor, Richard Carlson, who died when he was 45, my sister and a close cousin of mine also passed away at 45. So definitely feeling a certain amount of gratitude just to be alive. Not everybody makes it to 50. But definitely, feeling kind of weird about it. And like 50 seems like a big number. And I don't know if it seems old to me. When I was younger, it definitely seemed old. But one of the things that I did, in addition to, we had a party with some friends at the house that was very nice, and I appreciated it. And I felt a lot of love and a lot of appreciation and celebration for me, both at the party, but also, a few cards that came in the mail, although that's pretty old school. Lots of nice messages here on social media and elsewhere. But it felt important, at least to me. I mean, I think it's important for us to do what we want to do. I wanted to have a party with some friends and I wanted to be around some people. That was important to me. I think it's important for us to do what's going to have us feel honored and celebrated. But birthdays can be weird, especially big birthdays, right? It's kind of like New Year's Eve or Valentine's Day, which was just yesterday as I'm, recording this. A lot of times there can be a lot of hype or a lot of expectation, and then we end up being let down. But I didn't feel let down at all. And then Michelle and I went up to the Sonoma Mission Inn, a place that we love that's about 45 minutes north of our house, and hung out at the spa on my actual birthday, the 7th of February, which was nice. But one of the exercises that I did that I often do at the end of the year and as the new year's starting, kind of as a reflection, I'll look back at the previous year and, list out the highlights and the wins and the accomplishments and the fun stuff and the good things that happened. But I'll also list out some of the challenges and the hard stuff and the things that were really difficult. And I did that. I spent a couple days doing it. I actually did it for the whole first 50 years of my life. And it was really an interesting exercise. Harder for me to remember stuff back when I was, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. As I got into my 30s and my 40s, it was a little easier to recall things, but it felt sweet. It felt, I don't know, it was interesting, obviously very personal and emotional to me, that both thinking about the wins and the highlights and the accomplishments and the things that I'm proud of and the milestone moments and, the, wedding day and birth of our children and, getting into college or, buying a house or whatever, publishing my first book. I mean, there were definitely some cool things on there. But also looking at some of the challenges and the difficulties, the disappointments. I actually retired from baseball on my 25th birthday is when I finally made the decision and told my family and really came to terms with the fact that my baseball career was over. So that was half my lifetime ago. And it was kind of a trip to realize that and think, my goodness, the 18 of the first 25 years of my life, that's what I did. And that's what was one of, if not the most important thing in my life, was my baseball career. And, here I am 25 years later, and a lot's happened since then, obviously, but things like that, and the passing of both of my parents and my sister and Richard and others, as I was thinking about some of the challenges, most of the things on the list of challenges or difficulties or losses or painful things, like, I wasn't that emotionally sort of triggered by them. I mean, thankfully, some time has passed in a lot of cases. I've done quite a bit of work in therapy and otherwise to heal a lot of that stuff. So I felt, and am still feeling now, proud, and in the truest and healthiest sense of that word, like, wow, man, you've had a pretty interesting life with some highs and some lows and some exciting things and some really painful and challenging things. But like, to stop for a moment on my 50th birthday and in this window of time, as I'm still kind of in that space, to just go, you know, it hasn't been perfect by any stretch. There's definitely some regrets and some pain and some challenge and some grief, but also quite a bit of joy and excitement. And I'm feeling excited about what comes next in this next decade of my life, and hopefully a number of decades to come. But, we don't know. And I think as we grow and as we age, the reality of, the finite nature of our physical human experience is, it's just a reality. A mentor of mine years ago said to me, Mike, if you live your life more aware of your own death, you'll live very differently, which I think is true. So I say all of this to share some of my own perspective and insight on turning 50. You may be 50, you may be much younger, you may be older, whatever, wherever you are on the continuum. I want to talk, though, a bit about celebrating ourselves. Now, look, it's not our 50th birthday all the time, or our whatever birthday, and it's nice to be celebrated, right? It's not, but we don't always have something specific to celebrate, like a milestone birthday or a retirement or a wedding day or whatever, fill in the blank. And those days are exciting. Although I did notice, like, even at my birthday party, and I tried really hard to just like stay present and really enjoy it. I said to Michelle as I was going to sleep that night, like, I feel a little sad. Like, it went by fast and now it's over. Because that's what happens, right? Like, those peak moments, those celebratory moments, they don't last. But what about celebrating ourselves? What about acknowledging ourselves, appreciating ourselves, having compassion for ourselves, loving ourselves? I've written about this, I've spoken about this quite a bit. My book, my third book, Nothing Changes Until You Do, which is somewhere back there behind me on the shelf, the green one, is all about self-compassion, self-acceptance, and self-love. My first two books, Focus on the Good Stuff and Be Yourself, Everyone Else Has Already Taken, I had whole chapters in those books about self-appreciation. And it's something that on the surface is a pretty simple concept, but in practice, I find to be incredibly challenging, but so important. And again, it's not about beating our chest or saying I'm the best and I'm the greatest. And, that's ego. That's often arrogance. Self-appreciation, self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love, genuinely, authentically celebrating ourselves is really about a deeper level, a more authentic level of honoring who we are. Not just our accomplishments, not just what we look like or what we do. Not that those things can't be something to appreciate. I mean, look, one of the challenges for me about aging is, like, I don't look the same way at 50 that I looked at 40, that I looked at 30, that I look at 20. I looked at 20. And if I'm fortunate enough to continue to get to 60 and 70 and 80 and on 90, my body's going to change. My appearance is going to change, just like yours. The body ages, right? And, we can also appreciate having a body. And I went for a run on my 50th birthday and it felt good. Like, I felt good. And I'm, out there and just kind of breathing and thinking, hey, man, not too bad for 50. Like, but again, that there's nothing wrong with acknowledging ourselves or celebrating ourselves for accomplishments or outcomes or things we do, or, the ability or even appearance of our bodies. But there are things about us that run even deeper than that. And, one of the reflections that I had when I was connecting with some friends around my birthday was, the last few years of my life have been pretty hard, challenging, COVID and some stuff going on in our family and some stuff going on with some people really close to me that have been challenging. Almost everyone I know has been going through some version of challenge over the last few years. And like my life has also been busy, as you can probably relate to. And especially during the lockdown time and when we weren't getting together as much, my life became much smaller and more isolated. And I haven't been out and about and connecting with people as much as I would like, not only over the last few years, but really over the last couple of decades. Like since getting married and having babies and, my business being what it is, one of the challenges of my life is that I haven't had as much time and space to connect with people as I would like. Maybe you can relate to this in some way. But I was at the party and I was connecting with people, and even some people who weren't at the party who I was texting with or talking to or just communicating with. And I had this moment again, not like it wasn't an arrogant moment as much as it was like, wow, these people still love me and appreciate me, even though maybe I don't get to see them as much as I'd like or communicate with them as much as I'd like. Or, the people I've known for many, many years, they still love me, even though I've aged and I don't look the same as I did at 40 and 30 and 20 and all that. I mean, again, I know this in concept, but to really get it in practice, that like who we are the essence of us. That's what we can celebrate. When our girls were young, I mean, younger than they are now, they're 18 and 15. I used to play this little game with them. And when they were little, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I would say to Rosie or to Samantha, how much does daddy love you? And they would put their hands up and they'd go, this much. And I'd say, that's right. And I'd say, how come daddy loves you so much? And they'd say, because I'm me. I'd say, that's right, just because you're you. And I really wanted them to get that message at that age. It's a little harder to have that conversation with them now as teenagers. Not that it's not important. It may be as important, if not more important now, but to play that little game is a little, come on, dad, that's cringy. What is that? Right. But I wanted them to hear from me that I love you just because you're you, not because you're cute, not because you're smart, not because you follow the rules or kicked a goal in the soccer game or got a gold star on your little thing at school or whatever, but because you're you. And as much as I was doing it for them, I was actually doing it for the 5-year-old or the 7-year-old inside of me. That, it wasn't a malicious thing by my mother, who primarily raised me and my older sister as a single mom, but I didn't get that message. Like I interpreted, for better or worse, that I was good if I got a good grade on the test, or I, pitched a shutout in the baseball game, or I was the star of the team, or I looked cute or behaved well or whatever. And again, there's nothing wrong with looking cute and behaving well and, hitting a home run in the baseball game or getting an A on a test, but that's not what makes us lovable. You making money is what you need to do to survive and support yourself and your family. You being good at what you do for your work is fantastic, but that's not what makes you valuable as a human. It might make you valuable to your team or your boss or your clients or customers or whatever, but it's really important for us to get this, to celebrate who we are, not simply what we do. So anyway, here are a couple things that you can do specifically to enhance your capacity for celebrating yourself. First of all, notice the things that get in the way of you celebrating yourself. What stops you? What resistance do you have? What fears or what stories in your head? That's normal. Most of us have some resistance. That's the first thing. The second thing is start looking for opportunities to acknowledge yourself. You don't have to do it publicly. You don't have to come on, Instagram and post a selfie and say, look how great I am. I mean, you can do that if you want. If that feels like a celebratory thing for yourself, great. But it can be an internal thing. It can be a writing it down in your journal. It can be a pausing and putting your hands on your heart and taking a breath and just thanking yourself for showing up. But look for opportunities to appreciate yourself, to celebrate yourself, to acknowledge yourself, to pat yourself on the back. not because you're perfect, not because you never make a mistake, not simply because you accomplish something, but just the courage to show up. And then thirdly, here's something that you can actually, in a very practical way, practice is start receiving appreciation from other people more graciously. You get compliments, you get people who express appreciation for you. We all do. Maybe not as much as we'd like, but we all get that. When it comes in, just say thank you and really take it in like a gift, even and especially if you don't agree with it. They're giving you a mental, emotional, verbal, maybe written gift. Your job is to receive the gift and just take it in. So, thanks for watching this and listening. I appreciate it. I'm going to start to come live from time to time on these various platforms, but feel free again to leave a comment or a question or a thought or a topic you want me to cover. I appreciate you following me on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube here. And you can learn more about me and my work at our website, which is mike-robbins.com. And until next time, be well, celebrate yourself. Take care.